Hello, everybody, and welcome to Theology 101. When I say the word God, what do you picture? I think most of us would picture different characteristics of God, otherwise known as attributes. So when I say the word God, you might think of the word holy, or you might think that God is love, or you might think that God is powerful. And as a side note, when I talk about God's attributes, all of these attributes are true of not only God the Father, but also of God the Son and the Holy Spirit. So when I say that God the Father is holy, then that means that the Son is also holy and the Holy Spirit is also holy. What if I told you that there is a better way to think of God? Because if you think of God as a list of attributes, you might actually get to a wrong picture of God. You might end up thinking of God as mixing a bunch of attributes like a cocktail drink, where you add a little bit of truth, add a little bit of love, add a little bit of omnipotence, and then voila, you get God. But God's attributes should not be thought of as separate circles. Otherwise, we might overemphasize one attribute at the expense of another. This especially becomes the case when different attributes seem to contradict one another. How is God both love and wrathful? How is God both far from us but also near us at the same time? By thinking of God's attributes as separate circles, we might end up taking away the tension when these attributes seem to contradict one another. And as one of my previous theology professors would say, theology is like a mattress. If you take out all the tension, then it's going to suck. But let me show you another wrong way in which we think of God. We might think of God as this circle, referring to his core essence. And then we might think of attributes that gets added to God's essence. We need to add some mercy to God, add some justice to God, add some holiness to God, add some power to God. It's as if we see God as an outline of a person, and we see God's attributes as different colors we add to this outline to get a full picture of God. But this is also not the right way to think of God, because attributes are not independent things from God. They are not things that we add to God. Instead, we need to think of attributes like a cut of a diamond, and all these different cuts together fully express God's beauty. Or think about a camera. A camera is made up of many parts. It has a lens, has a mirror, has a built-in flash. And if you take away any of these parts from the camera, then it's no longer a functioning camera. In other words, the camera needs to have all of these attributes or parts put together in order to be a working camera. God's attributes are similar in that way. They should be seen as a package deal. You don't put them together to get a picture of God, and you don't add these attributes to the core essence of God. Instead, all of the attributes put together explain who God is. Imagine if I were to ask you to describe yourself with one word. What would you say? If I were to think about myself, I might say that I'm Korean. But that's not completely correct because I'm also American. I might say that I'm pretty chill. But that's not correct because I can be intense and passionate at times. Do you see the problem when you think of a person by emphasizing a certain attribute? You end up reducing this complex person into a picture that might not be completely correct. So we shouldn't think of God as a bunch of attributes put together, and we shouldn't think of God's attributes as things that are added to God. So the question is, how then should we think of God's attributes? First, we need to understand that our knowledge of God's attributes are limited. The Apostle Paul describes it this way: who alone has immortality, who dwells in unapproachable light, whom no one has ever seen or can see. The psalmist describes God this way: such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Although special revelation or the Bible is completely correct in how it portrays God, it is limited in what it portrays about God. There is more to God than what we read in the Bible. Did you know that there are things about God that we are never going to know until we see him face to face? Now, why doesn't God reveal everything about himself to us? Well, I think of it this way. I don't reveal everything about myself to my 2 young sons because I know there are some things about myself they might not understand right now. And also, they might not be ready to know everything about me. And so if we can understand the gap between a father and a son, how much wider is that gap between God and us? And even if we were to just focus on what God did reveal about himself, Christians still debate about that for thousands of years. So imagine if God revealed everything about himself to us. We wouldn't understand everything, and we most likely wouldn't be ready to receive all this information about God. So the first thing we need to understand about God's attributes is that our knowledge of God's attributes is limited. But second, we need to understand that God's attributes do not contradict one another. See, the problem of viewing God's attributes separately is that you end up pitting one against the other. You might think that God's love and God's wrath are contradictory. But in reality, if all of God's attributes expresses God as a person, then God's love and God's wrath actually complement one another. You can't understand God's love without understanding his wrath and vice versa. You might be wondering how this makes sense. I remember the first time I held my son when he was born. I had this intense love in me that I never knew I had before. But what I also noticed is that I started to develop this intense wrath in me that I never had before. Things that used to never bother me all of a sudden got me very angry. I started to get mad at speeding cars. I started to get mad at diseases. And I started to get mad about news story about criminals who attack children. Why? Because my intense love for my son causes me to hate anything that might potentially harm him. Think about it for you. Doesn't what you love also inform what you hate? If you love life, you hate murder. If you love the Dodgers, you hate the Giants. This is why we must look at God's attributes as a package deal. They are all connected to one another. So you can't understand God's love without understanding his wrath. You can't understand God's holiness without understanding his love. You can't understand God's mercy without understanding God's justice. And so God's attributes do not contradict one another. If anything, they explain one another. They describe who God the Father is. They describe who Jesus is. And they describe who the Holy Spirit is. If you found this video about God's attributes helpful, please like it and share it with a friend. We will continue talking about this topic in future videos, so please make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when a future video is released. Until next time, see you!